Good evening, everyone. It is as close to 6:15 as possible. This is June 21st Brattleboro Selectboard meeting. We convened at 5:30 to do interviews for the Developmental Review Board applicants. And at that time,
Town Manager Moreland.
yes, Patrick indicated that the meeting had been properly warned. So now I can take a motion on the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes of June 7th, 2022, and June 14th?
Yep.
And
No.
No, not and June
Oh.
14th.
Oh,
Just,
okay.
okay. That we approve the minutes of June 7th, 2022.
Great. Jess has made a motion to approve the minutes of June 7th, 2022. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries 4-0. Next is chair remarks. I, believe it or not, don't have any remarks tonight, I'm happy to say. So I pass it over to interim town manager remarks.
Thank you, Ian. Good evening, everybody. There are three things I would hope to speak to this evening. The first is to announce to the board and to the public that the town has begun its engagement with AP Triton. And that, of course, is the firm that we're working with to evaluate the feasibility of taking complete responsibility for EMS service in Brattleboro within the Brattleboro Fire Department. That process got underway at the end of last week. It involved a meeting that incorporated not just the fire department, but the police department, the town manager's office, the finance department, human resources, and others. I can say we're all very impressed with the thoroughness and professionalism of the representatives from AP Triton. They have asked us for a very large volume of data that we went through, how do they want that presented to them. That data collection is going to take staff probably a month, at which point in time they will begin to evaluate that data and begin to lay out the framework for a set of recommendations to the town. One of the points that I wanted to mention is maybe 30 days after they receive the data, they will be coming to town, and they're going to want to meet with all sorts of different folks, including folks at the hospital, folks at the fire department, folks within the town of Brattleboro, and of course, the elected officials and the public. So the exact dates of that are not known at this time, but I just wanted to confirm for everybody that is part of the process and something that'll be coming down the pike in the months ahead. And a very exciting process.
Yes.
The second thing I want to mention is at the last meeting, we spoke on a couple of different issues, some concerns downtown, and also about the future of the space below the transportation center or the parking garage. And one of the ideas that was sort of floated at that meeting, and has been floated around town for years, is the potential or the possibility for a substation or a satellite police station. Took the liberty of having a meeting with the chief and one of the lieutenants, and we talked a little bit about the potential for that exploration. We both agreed it was something we should pursue, at least to the extent that we would be able to come back to the board and say, this is what we see as the potential for a satellite police station in that facility. This is what we think it would cost to establish. And part of that process would also almost certainly include a recommendation for a new camera system at the transportation center. I think we're all familiar that there is one. It's spotty. It dates back to the very construction of that building and is not altogether adequate to serve the needs. And so we would be looking for a more robust, modern system. And as those talks continue and as those talks develop, we'll come back to the board and just sort of update everybody on the status and what we see as the value of that sort of development and what we think the costs might be. So more to come on that front for sure. And lastly, this evening, I guess I'd like to let everybody know that the application that Golden Cross submitted for EMS service in Brattleboro was approved earlier this afternoon by the state of Vermont. So that's some good news. That's all.
Oh,
There's an issue. No one can hear in Zoom at home.
Well, that is an issue.
that is an
Yeah.
issue. And next time, just interrupt us right away.
Okay.
Yes, okay,
Russ, can you
Unmute.
get word to Nolan and ask him what he needs us to do?
Is it as simple as unmuting?
The people at home can't hear.
It wouldn't be unmuting her. It'd be unmuting
No,
one
and
of
I've
the
tried
two
to get
Nolans.
Nolan.
Nolan?
Nolan's unmuted.
Hello, Nolan?
So Nolan's logged in twice.
Okay.
Yeah, and I asked him to
Trouble
unmute
with,
both, just in
people at
case.
home.
You-
that is better.
Oh, so the other, okay.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, thank you.
Again, a thumbs
The
up.
interpreters can hear us?
Can the people at
Can you
home?
interpret us? Yes, yeah,
All right.
excellent, thank you.
All right.
I guess as they interpret, they're indicating that they can,
I guess so.
yeah. Okay, I wonder if we should,
Would you like me to say that again?
yeah, can you just give a very condensed version of
Sure.
that for the?
As a condensed
Sorry.
version, 3 items for those folks who are on VCTV or on Zoom. The town has begun the process of working with AP Triton to evaluate the feasibility of taking full responsibility for EMS service in Brattleboro within the Brattleboro Fire Department. Very exciting process, just getting started. Want to confirm that there will be an engagement, a public meeting as part of that process, and that's just begun and just gotten underway. Second point was staff has begun conversations with the Brattleboro Police Department about the potential for a satellite police station or a substation within the space of the Brattleboro Transportation Center. That's going to take some time to examine, what would be the needs, what would be the outcomes associated with something like that. But I know it's a discussion point that's been going around the community for quite some time, and we're going to take a look at it and come back to the board and sort of inform you with what we find there. And then lastly, that the application submitted to the state of Vermont by Golden Cross Ambulance Service for EMS service in Brattleboro was approved earlier this afternoon by the state of Vermont.
Thank you very much, Patrick, and thank you for the second round. And I'm glad that we have figured out the technological difficulty. So moving on, we are to select board comments and committee reports. Board members, anything? Liz?
I want to applaud the staff and the police department for looking into the substation issue, which I believe I brought to your attention at the last meeting. And I wanted to tell the public that I went on a ride-along with the police department last week, and I found it very informative, and our police department works very hard on our behalf.
Great, thank you for doing that. Thank you. Anyone? No?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I am so incredibly appreciative of town staff's work to create the interpretive monument in addition to the Civil War monument that's down on the Brattleboro Common. It looks beautiful. It contextualizes some of our history and begins to un-erase some folks that had been erased from town history. So I'm really proud of that work, and I'm really happy to see it looking so beautiful right in the Common.
Great, thank you very much, Jess.
One more thing.
Oh, yeah.
I want to tack on to Jessica's comment that we appreciate the work that Peter Elwell continued to do even after he retired to bring that to fruition.
Absolutely. Echo that.
I guess I'm going to tack on.
Oh,
to all
yeah,
that
let's do it. Because the public wants just here. Yep, good.
So much work has gone into that monument. This isn't, there were 3 students that were named at the ceremony who certainly did kind of push the issue, but it was the work over a number of years. And it was also the work of multiple people within staff and within the community at large. And so out of respect for all of that work and out of respect for the memory that memorial is there to commemorate, I hope that the memorial remains unmolested and unvandalized moving forward from this point.
You're here.
Great. Any other board remarks? Seeing none. Okay, so we move to public participation. So this is a time for the public to speak on an item that is not on the agenda. And as is my wont, I usually go from the room to the Zoom, kind of back and forth. So I will start, not seeing any hands up. Oh, I do see one hand up on Zoom.
Yes.
Let's start with that individual. And if you can just identify yourself and tell us where you're from.
Hello. My name's Kurt Dimes. I'm with Brattleboro Common Sense in District 2 of Brattleboro. And I have an earnest comment to make about the comments last, no, it wasn't last meeting, it was on the 7th. Elizabeth said, and I think a couple other board members chimed in, that the select board has made a priority about climate change. And I don't think that that is true. The board has been typically delaying things about climate change. The 2019 vote on the emergency declaration was swung by Daniel for the sake of politically correct language. So that was rejected. The short climate emergency declaration, otherwise called cow power, was delayed for 4 years. And then the name was changed to Fossil Fuel Fund as of yesterday. No use has been made of that fund, which was created over a year ago. And that's, you know, that was supposed to be an emergency measure. The coordinator, the energy coordinator, was neglected, not rehired for almost 2 years. BCS lobbied for a new coordinator. We made a petition for the coordinator to be reinstated, and 350 endorsed that. And then the name got changed. The name got changed again. So this is not a history of the select board making a priority. This is a history of the select board dragging its feet and changing the names and delaying things. I would also like, at least for the for you, Patrick. Oh, I like seeing you there. I know you're a very modest man, but I think a lot of people I talk to would love to have you as the town manager. I know you're too modest to accept that job. But anyway, back on the point. Please put on the town website at least the last clause of the emergency declaration, in which the RTM made a policy statement that everybody in town should be using renewable energy such as cow power. But the overall thing, that should be on the website. The overall thing is that, you know, you really have not made a priority. I'm sad to say. Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you very much, Kurt. I'll look to the room now. Dick?
We'll start getting appearance money. Dick DeGray, District 2. First question is to you, Ian.
Yes.
I actually sent you a text the other night. I had requested cameras a month ago. You gave me instructions on what I should do. I sent Daniel
Thank you.
a response, which you asked for. I spoke to the chief, which I think you requested, and it's been a month, and I mean, you told me that there would be an update and news coming forward, but that's not the request I made. The request was for cameras on the agenda. Can you first respond to that?
Yes. So as I responded to your email, we discussed it, and Patrick updated that it's currently being discussed with the chief of police and with the town manager's office. And I anticipate that there will be a agenda item ready soon that can be brought to the board for discussion that will include or incorporate a camera item. Your request to just discuss camera items was kind of morphed into that discussion, which is also, a part of the conversation about the downtown safety, downtown policing, and use of the transportation center lease spaces. I understand that that's beyond the scope of your request, but they've
No.
all kind of.
I understand that too, and
Yeah.
I'm glad we're gonna have that conversation. My understanding is that there was an assault in the transportation center last night. Whether you can answer that or not, I'll have to follow that and police calls. And also my understanding is that the parking vehicle was broken into. And I don't know if you want to address that issue, but Patrick talked a little bit about the cameras that are non-existent in the transportation center. And that if in fact that gentleman was assaulted last night, and if in fact it's true that that vehicle, the parking vehicle, was broken into, and I understand that several things did happen with that. Again, if you want to address that, that's fine. If you don't, I'm fine with that also. But the reality is, we don't have any cameras down there at all that are working. And as I said before, I could smash somebody's window, walk up to the camera, tell them who I am, and because they can't see me, they wouldn't be able to charge me because they wouldn't know it's me. That's a sad state of affairs for a critical structure in our downtown that's utilized heavily, and yet people feel very, very unsafe.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask Patrick is, and maybe Liz saw it when she was walking downtown the other night, our town is being plastered with signage for places to go to concerts. Our downtown is a mess. It happened, I believe, Friday night. It's been going on for a while. And as I said before, our town is starting to look like a city with the signage getting plastered all over and the graffiti going on. And the stuff that they plastered all over is not just going to peel off. It's just not going to come off. And our downtown looks like hell. And I think we have an ordinance in place that prohibits that stuff. And I couldn't figure out, and maybe Patrick knows the answer to this, of what establishment this event was going to happen. And if it is, we should be going after them. And I would like the answer to that in terms of we have found out. I haven't found out yet, and maybe Patrick, you have found out.
Yeah, if you want to speak to it briefly. Sure.
Thank you, Dick. Yeah, you reached out to me in end of last week, I think it was, sent me a photograph of some stickers that have been plaguing the downtown and put on various parking meters and probably some other things as well. I know you and I had a conversation, and you had concerns that might be associated with a certain business. I can assure you it is not. And I have looked around. I don't know what location is associated with that, and kind of ran into a point where nobody was going to tell me, but I asked, can you please get a message to those folks and let them know that we don't appreciate that? And that's essentially where that stands at this moment.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't pointing any fingers, but I know some other things that have happened have been tagged. And I don't believe that they did it. I believe that the artists who were performing did it. So I want to be clear that I'm not pointing a finger.
Yep.
But it's something that we need to be aware of, and we need to be judicious about saying, hey, listen, we're not going to accept this. You know, we're trying to do what we can. And, you know, I'm not going to tell you here that 2 of my beautiful baskets were destroyed last week. And that's not why I'm advocating for cameras. I've been advocating for cameras from way back in the early 2000s. In fact, we put some up when I was on the board. And I said last week that we need a a collaborative action plan, which it looks like maybe at the next meeting we'll be having that, because there's a lot of bad things going on downtown and all over town, but primarily downtown. And, you know, somebody getting assaulted in the transportation center last night is not a good thing, and it doesn't bode well for people feeling safe down there. So, and hopefully, that was a bad rumor about the parking vehicle. But here we are again, a facility that we own, when we can't identify the perpetrators of the crime. That's not a good thing. So I'm looking forward to the next meeting when this conversation. Thank all of you.
Thank you very much, Dick. Okay, is there, I don't see any hands up for Zoom, so I'll look if there's any other public here currently wants to speak in public participation. Not seeing any. So we move on to the consent agenda. Patrick, can you speak just very briefly to the items on the consent agenda tonight?
Sure. There are 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. One is the reappointment of the town tree warden. For quite some time, the town tree warden has been Dan Adams. Dan Adams is doing a fine job and has requested reappointment. We took the advice from Mr. DeGray and have included, by the way, in the agenda, the specific dollar amounts for the items contained in the consent agenda. The other 2 items each have a dollar figure associated with them. One is the replacement of car 1 at the Brattleboro Fire Department, and the other is to authorize an additional expenditure of $57,800 for the summer paving bid to extend the distance of the paving on South Main all the way down Cotton Mill Hill to, I believe, Route 142.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Patrick. So the board members have, and hopefully the community has reviewed the backup material for those 3 consent agenda items. Do any of the board members wish to pull any from the consent agenda? All right. Seeing no further discussion, I will take a motion.
I move
Daniel.
to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Daniel has moved to accept the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the motion carries 4-0. We move on to liquor commissioners. So, Jess.
I move that we convene as liquor commissioners.
Jess has made a motion that we convene as liquor commissioners. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries 4-0. Agenda item A in the liquor commissioners is Kipling's Tavern. Patrick, pass it over to you.
Sure. So Kipling's Tavern, I believe, is here this evening. They're on 78 Elliott Street, and they are seeking a first and third liquor license. The business has changed hands. It's going to be Kipling's Tavern. They have an application before you tonight. It's been reviewed by staff. They have no outstanding fees or taxes, and it is recommended for your approval.
Are there representatives from? Yeah, so if y'all want to come up and take a seat at the table briefly, not a time that we're going to grill you, but more, I like to take this opportunity for you to speak a little bit about your business and let the community know. Obviously, you're taking over a beloved establishment. I know I am very, very excited for the reopening. So you want to just tell us a little bit about it, and like when are you going to open, and if there's anything else that we should be excited about?
Opening optimistically late August, realistically probably sometime in September.
Yep.
Not changing much, quite honestly. Kind of keep the heart and soul of what makes Kipling's great. Looking to elevate the food a little bit, but interior-wise, the feel, the vibe of the place is not going to change barely at all. We'll bring what we do to it. A little more local ingredients, some fresher ingredients, not quite as much frozen food.
Yep.
A little higher end on the cocktails, perhaps, but kind of keeping what people love about Kipling's.
Yeah. Board members, any questions?
Sounds great.
Can you throw a mocktail on the menu?
Well, we'll have a mocktail menu.
All right, thank you.
There we go.
Very good.
Excellent. Let me just see if there's any questions from the public. Seeing none, and not seeing any further discussion from the board, I will take a motion. Liz.
I move to approve a first-class and a third-class liquor license for Kipling's Tavern located at 78 Elliott Street.
Liz has moved to approve a first-class and third-class liquor license for Kipling's Tavern located at 78 Elliott Street. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries 4-0. Congratulations and good luck.
That's nice.
That's nice. All right, we move on to agenda item B under Liquor Commissioners, and that is going to be the Retreat Farm outside consumption permit. Patrick?
That is completely correct. The Retreat Farm is seeking an outside consumption permit to go along with their first-class liquor license, which is in the process and we believe will be approved by DLC very soon. And so, once again, this particular applicant has had their application reviewed by town staff. Town staff recommends your approval, and there are no outstanding fees or taxes owed by Retreat Farm. And I believe they have Jennifer Kroll will be in attendance.
Already at the table.
I snuck over. So.
Welcome. So yeah, you want to just tell us a little bit? This is going to be just this is an event specific, correct? This is going to be just an outdoor.
This is right. So we are in the process of attaining our first class liquor license, which is truly temporary for this season. We are extremely hopeful that we will be reapplying for another first class liquor license with the North Barn renovation that we are in the thick of trying to launch this fall. So this liquor license is specifically being used to allow us to run the Thirsty Goat Bar, which is something that has been very event specific in the past, but this year we've opened the property, quote unquote, Thursday through Sunday, noon to 8, to allow people to come and buy craft beverages, whether they're alcoholic or non-alcoholic, from the Thirsty Goat. The Stone Church's food truck is providing food all 4 of those days, and then we're partnering with Vermont Gelato, who's also serving ice cream those 4 days during that time period. All those time periods also encompass all of the other events that we're doing on the property, so this license would cover everything that happens at Retreat Farm as far as alcohol is concerned.
That was Thursday to Sunday, noon to 8?
Yep.
Wow. Excellent. Board members, any questions? Seeing none.
Sounds like fun.
Come on down.
Just looking to see if we have any questions from Zoom. Mr. DeGray.
Is all that property tax exempt?
Dick, I'm not qualified to answer that question. I'm not sure.
Could you get back to us with that?
I sure can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other? Nope. Okay. Seeing no other comments from the board, I would entertain a motion. Jess?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Jessica.
I move that we approve an outside consumption permit to Retreat Farm located at 45 Farmhouse Square.
Jess has made a motion to approve an outside consumption permit to Retreat Farm located at 45 Farmhouse Square. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Carries 4-0. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Have a great summer.
Yes.
I'm liking the clapping.
Yeah.
Dude.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
All right, moving on to agenda item C as liquor commissioners. That's going to be for High Tie third-class liquor license. Patrick?
Yeah, that's correct. High Tie, located at Main and High, is seeking a third-class liquor license. They're located at 7 High Street. Their application has been reviewed by staff, and they have no outstanding fees or fines, and staff recommends approval. And from High Tie, I believe we have Adam Drone.
Adam, if you want to come on up and take a seat briefly. Welcome.
What? Oh, wait.
Well, yourself? Yeah, if you want to just tell us briefly.
Yeah, so we've been open since January 8th, and we've been welcomed by Brattleboro. We've loved downtown, and we just want to add some extra drinks to the menu and see how it goes. So it's going to be just a simple menu, a couple cocktails.
Yep.
we have some existing drinks that we do already, like a Thai iced tea. We're kind of just going to add some rum to that,
Yeah.
some infused gin, lemongrass, stuff like that. So kind of higher end cocktails. But
Great.
yeah.
Looking forward to it. Board members, any questions?
No.
I had an enjoyable meal there on Friday.
Oh, good. Yeah. And I'll look to the public. Anybody here? Nope. All right. So not seeing any further discussion, I would entertain a motion. Liz.
I move to approve a third-class liquor license to High Thai located at 7 High Street.
Liz has made a motion to approve a third-class liquor license to High Thai located at 7 High Street. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries 4-0. Congrats.
Thank you, guys.
One more.
Shall I keep going?
Yeah, I got the last one. Okay, so we move on to our item D as liquor commissioners, and that is going to be for Vegan and Flex LLC, first-class liquor license and outside consumption permit. I'll pass it to Patrick.
Sure. So we're on a roll here. Vegan and Flex is a new business which is situated at 105 Canal Street in the former Three Stones facility. And their application has also been reviewed by staff. They have no outstanding taxes or fees, and we recommend approval.
Great, and we have representatives from...
We do. I believe we have Nicole Peruzzi and Eva Gwynn.
Excellent. Do you want to come on up? And yeah, given that you're going to be a new restaurant in town, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about the business and...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to start, it's basically sit-down dining, vegan restaurant. The and Flex is flexitarian, it's kind of a new term. It's inclusive to all. Yeah.
More plant-based forward, so that we're not just inviting vegetarians or vegans, we're inviting everyone to come eat more healthier, try to have, some things that you don't expect that we can make vegan to make vegan and enjoyable, So
We plan to do lunch and dinner Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yep.
And stage 2 is brunch on Sundays.
Nice. So not right away, but at some point.
Yeah, we're gonna try to
Sooner,
do it in
hopefully.
stages, yeah.
And do you have an anticipated open date?
Aggressively.
Yep.
Second or third weekend in July.
Wow.
But a lot of it is contingent on these licenses and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And the outdoor consumption permit, that knowing the space, so
We
it's
have a cool patio.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That's outside. It's like, it'll be a 3-season.
Yep.
So yeah, I wanted to license that also, because brunch on that will be really nice with mimosas.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Board members, any questions?
I have a weird question.
Yeah.
Is there such a thing as vegan wine and beer?
Yes. Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, I didn't know that either. Other questions from the board? No?
I'm excited.
From the public?
We are too.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's always nice to see a new restaurant coming to town. So, all right, not seeing any further discussion, I'd take a motion.
Well, I'll do this one.
Great.
I move to approve a first-class liquor license and an outside consumption permit to Vegan and Flex LLC, located at 105 Canal Street.
Daniel has made a motion to approve a first-class liquor license and an outside consumption permit to Vegan and Flex LLC, located at 105 Canal Street. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries 4-0. Congratulations and best of luck.
Very good.
Great. I'll take a motion.
Jessica?
Jess.
I move that we adjourn as liquor commissioners.
Jess has moved that we adjourn as liquor commissioners. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Liz.
I move that we convene as water and sewer commissioners.
Liz has moved that we convene as water and sewer commissioners. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. That leads us to agenda item, I've lost my
9A.
9A, which is the WWTP fire alarm authorization for purchase. Is that going to be Patrick first, or just right to Dan?
Right to Dan. So good evening. We're asking you to approve the purchase and installation of a new fire alarm panel for the wastewater treatment plant. We had our annual inspection. There's some faults we've been struggling with the system. Bottom line is the panel's obsolete. They can't fix it. Johnson Controls installed it in 2012 with the upgrade. They've done our service since. They're the ones that have provided the quote for the upgrade. We did speak to our local electrician, fire alarm folks, and they recommended using Johnson for this. They would have to purchase the parts from them as well. So we recognize that we didn't follow the procurement policy for this, but in this situation, we feel that this is the best move.
Great. Board members, any questions? Danny?
Is there anything that we have to do to authorize something different from the procurement method, the normal procurement method?
I think just with the board's consent,
Consent,
we
yeah.
can, we can step outside of that.
That we discussed it in the open public meeting, that we're doing this in a different way than normal.
It's a couple of $1,000s over the limit for which we should be properly seeking bids if we were following that. But we think, given the research that Dan has done and given the proprietary nature of the equipment, there's really no likelihood that we would come to a better outcome in the end. And for a couple of $1,000s, we think it probably makes sense to just move forward with repair.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I just wondered whether we had to say something in particular.
My only question was, is the price kind of standard for this, or is it actually inflated because of the current backup on materials that we're seeing all across the board on different municipal projects?
That's a great question. They didn't give us any indication that it was inflated. I would expect that everything's expensive right now.
Yeah.
I would expect we're seeing some of that, but availability seemed reasonable, so.
I was wondering if maybe this would have fallen under the procurement cap had it been.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, maybe my brain isn't working very well today, but I'm assuming, this is a repair. It's not something that we planned for, but is there a line in your budget for repairs, and would that budget line cover
I think
this?
it's equipment and maintenance in the
Yeah.
wastewater treatment plant section. A lot of this falls under.
Yeah.
It's a pretty large line.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dan.
Further board discussion? No?
Sounds good to me.
Great. I don't see any hands up. So we not seeing any further discussion, I will entertain a motion.
Sure.
Yeah, Jess.
I move that we authorize an expenditure in the amount of $14,894.64 with Johnson Controls Fire Protection LP to furnish and install a new fire alarm panel at the wastewater treatment plant.
Jess has made a motion to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $14,894.64 with Johnson Controls Fire Protection LP to furnish and install a new fire alarm panel at the wastewater treatment plant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Thank you very much. And Dan, I think we're keeping you up here.
Yep, one more.
Yeah, so this is going to be item 9B for Water and Sewer Commissioners, the Signal Hill Electric Upgrade.
Right, so this is the pump station on Signal Hill. We've been working on this one for a while. The design is done. We hope to construct this season, but we put it on the priority list to see if there was funding available for it, and the priority list has been just delayed. Still haven't seen anything yet. They're telling us by July 1st now we should hear. So it's likely we'll advertise this fall, construct in the spring. So this piece of the project is the electrical service, really from the intersection of Guilford Street and Maple Street. The power needs to be upgraded all the way up to the pump station for the new pump station. So the engineer recommended that we go ahead and get this installed so that in the spring, when the contractor comes in, everything's ready to connect. The price is from Green Mountain Power. It's their system. So.
Great. Board?
Sounds good to me.
That's good. Seeing nothing from the public, I'll take a motion.
I'll do it.
Liz?
I move to accept the quote of $22,003.24 from Green Mountain Power to extend and install a new three-phase electrical service at the Signal Hill Pump Station.
Liz has made a motion to accept the quote of $22,003.24 from Green Mountain Power to extend and install a new three-phase electric service at the Signal Hill Pump Station. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries 4-0. Dan, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, I'll take a motion.
Move to adjourn as Water and Sewer Commissioners.
Daniel has moved to adjourn as Water and Sewer Commissioners. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. So we now move to new business. Agenda item 10A, the monthly financial report. It's Frost, you want to come on up?
Good evening.
Evening.
So in your packets, everybody got the 11-month financial report along with my memo, basically saying the same thing it says every month, right? Where we are within the month to the end of the year budget. This is your 11-month budget, and I just wanted to point out that we are performing significantly better than budget. It's been a good year. I want to point out a couple of things on the revenue side. We're still waiting for our last quarter of the local option tax, which is going to be about another $350,000. On the expense side, we're seeing a big savings on the emergency service salaries, which include fire, police, and dispatch. It's been a challenge to fill these positions. We also have a significant decrease in our workers' comp expense. Our rating has gone down from 1.3% to 0.7%, which is really great and unexpected. So, because that goes based on, usage. So those are the couple of things that I wanted to point out with the budget as we're getting ready to close out the fiscal year.
Great, thank you very much. Board members, questions, comments? Yeah, yes.
I had a question. Last year, when we were in the budgeting process, the issue of advance payments that happened at the end of the previous fiscal year significantly impacted our conversations about the fiscal year 23 budget. So I was wondering, are we going to face the same sort of concerns or challenges around having made lots of prepayments at the end of this fiscal year? Is that going to impact the general fund? What's it called?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did hear about the prepaid issue that happened last year. We are very well aware of it in the office, and I think everybody is on high alert, and I do not think that we will have that issue this year. Yeah, we went through it with the staff. We understand the issue that happened and how it happened, and we have put things in place for that not to happen this year.
Great.
Yeah, Daniel.
Thanks. This is a policy question that comes out of the budget. So the line for public sanitation on page 8
There we go.
in auxiliary services, $10,000 previous years. We used it to pay for temporary public bathrooms that we put out there in the summer. And I noticed that we haven't put them out this year, and I was wondering why that was and if it could be changed.
And if it could be changed?
Yes.
It could be changed.
Very well.
Sure.
It's the most roundabout way of getting to us.
So we struggle, I must admit, with how to keep those facilities clean. When we initially moved forward with that project, we had a partnership that was providing the cleaning if we were providing the facilities. That cleaning fell to us, and you know, that's a bit of a challenge. As we were getting to the period of time in the year where it would be appropriate to roll those out again, we asked ourselves, do we still have the same challenges that we faced in the year when we rolled these out? And came to the conclusion that we don't think we do just yet, but maybe let's wait and see. And so we've taken a sort of wait and see approach. We could, if the board so directed us to, you know, roll those out, we could roll those out. If the board's willing to go along with the wait and see approach, we can continue to wait and see.
Yeah. I mean, so my recollection of why we had them out there in the first place was because Parks Department staff were finding human waste in some of our public spaces, which in part was simply due to the fact that after a certain time of day, there ain't too many places to go to the bathroom. And so whilst that was the initial thing that brought them into play, I think that they do serve a purpose for the general public. And, you know, we were out at the Common last week, and it was noted, you know, there were a bunch of people at the Common doing a thing, and some of them needed to go to the bathroom, and in the past there'd been a temporary public bathroom available to them. So I personally would like to see them back out there. I know that we have, you know, money in the budget for the maintenance of them. Is that correct? That money is sort of like they're pumping out of them from time to time?
Consumables.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know if this is a conversation we need to have tonight, or we need to warn it for another time. It's sort of regular operations as opposed to...
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it'd be a bit of a stretch to say that it has been warned properly.
Yeah.
With us discussing the financial report.
I don't think it necessarily needs to be warned. If the board would like to direct staff to get the porta pots out, we'll get the porta pots.
Well, this board member would.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
I would like the staff to see if there's a service provider who could do that work so that our town staff doesn't have to. And I would take a wait and see attitude until that investigation has been completed.
So I'm hearing basically one option is we put them out, but we potentially don't have the staffing to be able to properly clean it to the level that would be appropriate for like what we've done in past summers. Or we don't have them out at all, and we wait to determine whether we can find a some kind of provider to do that at a level. I don't know, do we want to try to sort of provide a policy decision?
I feel like Patrick might have something to offer.
If the board is just interested in a more informed opinion from staff, maybe staff could come back to the next meeting with a more informed opinion?
Yeah.
Love it.
Cool.
It'll work for me. And in the meanwhile, I'll hold it.
Thank you. Yeah, nice. Other yes, Liz.
I just wanted to explore a little bit more Kim's comment about workers' comp. It really is quite an achievement, and it's not just a financial achievement. It's the work of every staff member to, improve procedures, be healthier, address elements so that accidents don't happen. And I think we really need to applaud our staff for achieving that goal.
Definitely.
And if I could just piggyback on that, I would particularly like to call out the work of the Safety Committee, which is headed up by Sally Nix, our HR director, and also to the membership of each of the 4 collective bargaining units, all of whom bought in to the new workers' comp procedures. The fact that we've gone from 30% above the standard workers' comp rates to almost 30% below is really a tremendous swing. And a lot of good work by a lot of people. So, wow.
I had a sense Sally was behind this.
Yeah, and I think I'll just speak briefly to, I think that's a really good example of where I think here on the board, we reflect a lot on the cost benefit of adding positions to the town staff because, it's expensive and it adds quite a bit. But when we're adding staff that are necessary and important, it saves the town money too, because they're implementing systems and processes that are needed. And this is a really perfect example of that. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Liz and Patrick. Any other questions? We got a hand.
Yeah.
Great.
Ricky Rosati.
Ricky.
Can you hear me? Should I put on a microphone?
Nope, you're good. We can hear you.
Okay, great. So are there any intentions to commit to installing permanent 24-hour open restrooms which are provided on state highways or state parks with running water, like how most first world countries have and have been maintained in those places like state parks and highways for the last several decades?
So I think that the short answer is there isn't anything currently being considered for something as permanent as that, and that the discussion about the porta potties, we kind of have shelved till the town staff can come back to us with more information. So I think that's kind of just a little, discussion of public restrooms is going to be something that the board's going to bring up again. But as for permanent, I don't believe there's anything being considered at this time.
The porta potties are disgusting and they're not family friendly. They're not hygienic. That's really a public health hazard.
Daniel?
Yeah, before the pandemic, we were actually in a mode where we were taking a deeper look at establishing some permanent public bathrooms downtown. And I agree with you, Ricky, the porta potties are not ideal. They are
I'm embarrassed by them.
a stopgap measure. I know that they are helpful to many members of the community, myself included. And I would like us to kind of, when we have the capacity to get back to, the question of having better public bathrooms that are permanent downtown.
Okay, thank you very much, Ricky. Yeah, we got two hands, but Dora, I saw yours first, so come on up.
Dora Bubalis, as long as we're discussing public bathrooms, the purpose of the River Garden was supposed to be for public bathrooms. There were federal monies and state monies put into that building. The town saw fit to allow it to be sold to a private business, which means that those are no longer public bathrooms. Not that they were really during the stroll time, but they were semi. So that needs to be considered because there should be money paid back based on what money was supposed to be put into the River Garden for public bathrooms. It was supposed to actually be paid back. That's why it wasn't sold to a private business when the stroll took over it, because the state said that they were going to have to pay the money back. So somebody needs to look into that because there could be money there. Well, plus there's all the COVID money, which could be used to do something like that too. But it's high time we have public bathrooms downtown.
Great, thank you very much. Mr. Gray?
I'm glad you put that issue aside. I think there's other issues that were going on that Patrick was so eloquently stepping around with the porta potties. So maybe that'll be part of the larger discussion in 2 weeks when we talk about action plan. My question is, you did mention the rooms and meals tax and sales tax. What is the guesstimate of, do you think that we're going to be over by your best guess, if we're going to exceed the line item in the budget?
Let's see.
I have a comment.
So right now, we're at like 88% of budget in that line item. So if we get another $350,000, we're going to be probably
And the history for this quarter is usually pretty good.
From what I saw.
From what you saw, yeah.
Yes.
I tracked that closely, so. And your estimate for surplus are you looking for a high or a medium surplus at the end of the fiscal year?
Oh, good. I'm sorry. For
the whole budget, the overall budget. The way you were talking, where there's significant savings in several departments, are you looking at somewhere in the 2s, the 3s, the 4s? All guesstimate, I'm not going to go.
Yeah, it's a guesstimate. I mean, but it looks like it will be significant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Liz.
In watching the Vermont news last Friday night, they said that the state...
What channel is that on?
What? Vermont This Week?
Oh, it's actually a news channel?
Every Friday at 7:30. I don't know where you guys are.
Sorry, go ahead.
And the rooms and meals tax are up statewide. I think they said 21%.
Wow.
Okay. I do have one other thing.
Yes.
Okay. So as was directed last month, we wanted a couple of changes in some line items, so I'll direct you to page 8 under auxiliary services. We have renamed business promotion to community marketing initiative, and we have renamed arts promotion to town arts fund.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'm glad that we got.
You when you said
yeah,
that.
you know, I actually, when I was looking through the financial report, caught another couple from the Rec and Parks budget that we discussed last year. One of which is the dreaded miscellaneous.
Yes. Let's identify them now. I think that this is the appropriate time to address them.
So let me just make sure I'm on the right page. Page 14, program supplies. And page 15, miscellaneous. Carol did speak to both of them during the budget cycle and explained what they were, and Lord knows if I can remember.
So,
just in the vein of, so we know what the budget actually says.
So maybe we could ask that Carol be questioned about what would be a better name for those two. If she indicated in the budget season discussions last year, better terminology for those two line items, if the financial report in the future could reflect those per Mr. Quip's request.
So
we can do.
Thank you.
So Ian, she'll be interrogated by Kim?
Yeah.
Carol will be interrogated by Kim?
Yeah, that would be,
Okay, good.
yeah, that, if that's
Leave
feels
us out.
okay.
That's no problem.
Yes, leaving us out.
And I might just be wrong, but I think that she did give a more specific description of what those things were.
Daniel's never been wrong the entire
That's
time I've been
really
on
not
the
true.
so. Anything else, board members? Seeing no more discussion
There's
from.
a hand.
Oh, great. Who is it?
Ricky Rosati.
Okay, Ricky, I'm just going to keep you brief, though, because this is your second time, so that we can keep the agenda moving.
Well, I have a different comment about the Town Arts Fund and some questions about that. So is this labeling of the Town Arts Fund to the group of people that are getting about $15,000 from tax collections from people in Brattleboro that are in charge of that Town Arts Fund?
Yes.
I believe so, but I actually had a hard time hearing you for a second.
I put on my microphone. So can you hear me? Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I was asking if this Town Arts Fund, if that's going to the people that are getting about $15,000 annually from Brattleboro tax collections.
Jess had her hand up first.
Yeah, this $15,000 budget item is money that the town has set aside for arts in the community. And so we have the Wyndham Arts Council has created a committee to help us delegate these funds to artists, and they are responsible for determining which artists and projects receive the funding.
So from my understanding of that situation, that was partially because when that initiative was decided several years ago, the art committee members then didn't want the responsibilities involved with that. And so since then, we have a new body of art committee members. And I think that like we, as a, like this committee, have so many legal obligations that we have to be responsible for to cater to public transparency by warning our meetings, by being appointed by the select board members, and by publishing our meeting notes. And so, however, the Windham Art Council don't have any of those obligations. Their members just choose whatever members they want. They don't have any limit of seats. They have no rules of their seat terms. They don't have to warn meetings. They don't have to publish meeting notes. And so that's $15,000 of tax collections that from the public that is not being really regulated in a transparent way for them to be involved with that entire process of how and what art is being curated and sponsored and invested. And I think that that is really a conflict of interest that needs to be resolved. And I am the speaking, I didn't introduce myself adequately, was as a District 2 representative and as the interim art committee clerk, that I really hope that there's consideration to give the art committee those responsibilities and that budget instead, because of how much more work we are putting into the doing the same thing in a much higher standard of qualifications.
Okay, thank you very much, Ricky. Board members want to speak to it then at all?
I just think it's too soon to change that decision that's been made.
Daniel?
I understand Ricky's point, and I appreciate it. I know that the Town Arts Fund recently had an application kind of period, and I believe that period has closed and decisions about awards would have been made. So I wonder if this might be, in the next couple of months would be a good time of year for them to come and speak to that process, share their methodology, and that way we could investigate how it's gone and could consider whether it ought to live with them moving forward.
Good answer.
Yeah, I think that makes quite a bit of sense. Yeah, let's have a review of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much money?
Oh, you want to come up to the? Oh, just for
that before. So.
Oh, it wasn't hooked. Oh, really? That's fine.
Interesting. How much money is left in that line item?
Nothing.
It's fully expended.
Yeah.
Fully expended?
Yeah.
It was, and it had just been, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is good news. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's also, it's not, it's part of the rooms and meals tax or the 1%.
I don't know if it was.
I think it's part of the 1%.
I thought it was just town meetings
No,
generosity.
no, because it was part of the same deal for the marketing fund,
Okay.
part and parcel with that.
Yeah.
It all comes out of the general fund.
All right. So I think noted, and let's plan to have them come before the board at some point when it's convenient for them and for us, and we'll have a good discussion on it. Board members, any other discussion now? And
it's good that we have the financial report as a discussion item, because occasionally there's some discussion to be had.
Absolutely. Yes. Kim, thank you so much for the presentation. Board members, I will entertain a motion.
I move to accept the monthly financial report as presented.
Daniel has moved to accept the monthly financial report as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We move on to new business agenda item B. Oh.
Yep.
B, yes. So this is a little bit different, board. We need to open the public meeting, a public hearing. Is that correct?
Oh, I think you might have skipped.
I think you may have.
We're on EM.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. You're right.
There's that one, and then the public hearing is under C.
Is under C. I apologize. Okay, so we're on item B, and I finally have found my thing. Okay, so we're at the EMS contract, an amended agreement with Golden Cross, and I think Patrick's going to speak to that first.
Yes, sir. So before the board this evening is a potential contract amendment with Golden Cross Ambulance Service. I think before I speak a little bit to what's being proposed in the contract amendment, I'll speak to the existing contract. As the board and the public will recall, the Select Board approved a contract for EMS services with Golden Cross Ambulance Service beginning July 1 on April 19th of this year. That particular contract called for a series of assets to be operating in Brattleboro Fire Department facilities, and that included 2 ambulances, which will be situated at Central Station, a full-time, 24-hour-a-day paramedic, and a second advanced emergency medical technician to be provided half of the day during the busier hours of the day, initially proposed to be from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. As part of their ongoing discussions with our new partner, Golden Cross made an offer to the town that staff felt was worthy of your consideration. The offer is they would provide a 3rd ambulance to the town and would expand that second position, the advanced EMT position, from 12 hours a day to 24 hours a day. And they'd provide that to the town at no charge for the first 90 days. That seemed like something worthy of your consideration. If at that point in time, after the 90 days, if the town felt that those additional assets were worthwhile, the cost to the town would be an additional $50,000 a year. If at that point in time we determined that those assets never left the station and they are unnecessary, then we could discontinue them without any additional charge. So that is the contract amendment which is before you this evening. It's partially executed by the owner of Golden Cross Hospital, or Golden Cross Ambulance Service, and I'm seeking your authorization to execute it on behalf of the town.
Great, thank you very much, Patrick. Board members, discussion? Daniel.
Sure. I think this is sensible and useful, and I'm really grateful for the flexibility that Golden Cross has shown as we kind of move forward with what is this hybrid model where we have Golden Cross, providing the ambulances, providing the staff, and also, Brattleboro Fire with their paramedics, AEMTs, and EMTs working alongside them. So I'm glad that this is happening. I will be voting to say, yes, let us accept this contract amendment. I think that it's really important that we're driven by the data. So we will be able to see how often, the good thing is we have dispatch providing us, with all of the dispatch services we need, and we have easy access to that data. So we'll be able to see how many times did we need a 3rd ambulance. And if we discover that we need the 3rd ambulance many times, then obviously that will be something for us to consider moving forward. I know that when we were initially considering the Golden Cross contract with 2 ambulances, 24 hours a day for Brattleboro, there was sort of comparison with other towns. So Burlington, a city nonetheless.
Queen City.
Had up until recently 2 ambulances with Burlington Fire Chief, correct? Yeah. And then they added a 3rd one. I don't know if you guys want to come to the table. We're probably going to have some questions for you. And so, Burlington and Brattleboro are different sizes. Brattleboro having 2 ambulances, Burlington previously having 2, seems to make sense that we should be able to cover it. I think having the 3rd is a good backstop. I don't expect we'll need it very often, but it will be good to have it. And I think it's just kind of worth pointing out to the folks in the community who are listening, is that, these ambulances will sit in the center of town and will serve Brattleboro. right? They will not be going to Guildford, or Dummerston, or Hinsdale, or, Vernon, unless there was an extraordinary circumstance and those communities called to us for mutual aid and we had the capacity to support them, right? So these are assets that are dedicated to our community, and we just got the really wonderful news that the license for operating EMS services was approved earlier this afternoon. So I'm excited to get to it, and I have full faith in our fire department and in Golden Cross to do a great job.
Thank you, Daniel.
You're welcome.
Other board members? Comments?
Well, there's this nice letter report from the fire department in our packet and about backup service and mutual aid, and I thought maybe the chief would like to speak to it.
Chief, do you mind speaking to your letter that was incorporated in the backup material for the Golden Cross amended contract item?
Sure. Are you looking at in particular, or just what?
Well, just the number of personnel and the number of vehicles,
okay.
and just the adequacy of the whole hybrid system.
Sure. So on a given day, we'll have a minimum of 8 personnel, including Golden Cross people, at the fire station able to respond to emergencies. During the day, Monday through Friday, from 8 to 5, there'll be 4 other, there'll be 12 people there that can respond to emergencies as well. And on top of that, if we get into the event where we need to call in more people, we can call in off-duty staff, and we can supplement that with off-duty staff. I strongly feel that adding this 3rd ambulance and adding that 2nd person for 24 hours is certainly a good safety cushion for us, and it gives us 3 months to see how we're going in the first 3 months, and we may come back to you, as Patrick said, and tell you that we don't need that 2nd person for 24 hours. We only need them for 12 hours. So I think it's certainly a win-win for all of us to be able to have this option to help us get off to a good start.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jess, any thoughts? Or
Yeah.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. I had a thought, but I didn't
I
want
got
to
a
supersede you.
I just, from the beginning, the staff have been really supportive and really thoroughly engaged in providing so much data and so much information on what we need to be able to do this. And I think the original contract with Golden Cross addressed that and really situated us in a comfortable place. And this is just such an amazing opportunity to be able to take advantage of, on the slight chance that we got a calculation wrong, or just if people are just feeling like this might not be enough. This was just an incredible offer from Golden Cross to step forward and say, we'll make sure you've got more than you need. And to just put everybody's mind at rest. And it certainly is exciting to me to be able to think about not tracking our success with this program by if we had missed any calls in the first 3 months, but how much that extra ambulance and extra staff person were underutilized. So I am really grateful that we can do it this way, and we can just overdo the resources that we are anticipating needing, just to make everyone so much more comfortable.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Jess. My only thought is sort of piggybacking off Daniel. Obviously, this is going to be something that is going to be kind of driven by the data and the experience of the fire department and Golden Cross on the utilization of these additional resources and whether the town should expend an additional $50,000 to pay for it after the 90 days. So I'd really like the fire department to be prepared to come back to the board to discuss as those 90 days are moving forward, how it's going, talk to us about how the service is working with Golden, and also how much we're utilizing these additional services. And then when we're not meeting with the board, that obviously, and I'm telling you something I'm sure is already going to happen, but that you keep close contact with the town manager's office, so that that's a constant updating happening, so that we can ensure that the most up-to-date data is getting to the leadership, so that we can be addressing what's going on, because this is a new thing that we're doing, and we want to make sure that we're providing the service that Brattleboro needs, and being active in assessing and addressing any issue. So I just ask that we definitely do that, and we be prepared to discuss this in July, how it's going, so that the community can hear about it.
The plan is to be here at your second meeting in July to just do that and be here monthly to update you, and folks are more than welcome to call or stop in once we get going and ask questions or concerns that they have. So,
excellent. Thank you. And thank you very much for your work on this, and to Dale and to Golden Cross as well. Okay, board members, I think unless there's more there, we'll move on to public participation. I'll start. Yes.
I don't have a dog in this fight, but a couple of questions for you. Does the 90 days start on July 1?
yes.
And so we're, in essence, being charged $50,000 for 9 months of service. The contract, you say for a year, but the first 90 days is, we're not getting charged for the first 90 days.
Just to clarify, we're being charged the $75,000 that.
Right, I know, I understand that. That's separate. We know that.
Yes.
But you're sitting here saying we're getting charged $50,000 for the year, when in essence, you're getting charged $50,000 for 9 months.
Well, we don't.
You got 90 days free. I think I heard that.
I see that. I know.
Well, just a technical question. And so the facts are the facts. I mean, 9 months is $50,000. The question I have, the long-term question, which if there is some use for the third ambulance, are we going to be dependent upon Trident's saying the town can suffice with 2 ambulances? Because this potentially has a huge financial impact at the end of the rainbow, because all the conversation has been about 2 ambulances when we take over. So that's what's the line of demarcation in terms of long-term? We get to the end of the year and we look like, well, we knew we were going to have 2. We did need the third one once in a while. That's a huge financial impact, employee-wise and material-wise.
Daniel.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of excited about how much transparency there'll be in the resources that we have and how much control we'll have over those resources. We'll get to make those decisions as a town. I feel like when we purchase new fire trucks or police vehicles, there's often a conversation at town meeting about like, well, why do we need this? And then there's usually some kind of judgment about like, yes, we really do. And it's often the kind of case that it's like, in the worst case, you don't want to not have it, right? And like the third ambulance, based on our understanding of the data, we probably won't use it that often. But there will be times when you're going to be glad to have it. And so how will we make those judgments about whether it's a good investment? I think we're going to figure that out together in public. And I'm excited to have that transparency be available to us, because we never really had it before.
If I can clarify, just when this study comes out, you're not just going to have one option. There's going to be at least 3 options that the town can go with, or maybe 4. But I know there's going to be at least 3 different options. So when this study comes out, there's not going to be, this is the only one thing you can do. There's going to be many options that the town can choose to go with. Let me reiterate as well, we're transporting to BMH. Our longest transport time is 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So to turn an ambulance back around, it's going to be fairly quickly.
No, I'm not speaking against this. I'm just trying to make a couple of points. Because my memory is a little shady at times, when is the Trident study due back to you?
So it is kind of dependent on us to get them data, which takes town staff time. And I think Patrick spoke to it at the beginning that it's going to be about 30 days for us to produce all of the material that they're looking for. I think the estimate, and please, again, don't hold me strictly to it.
No.
I think it was 3 months was the time frame that we understood, with the understanding that it could be a little bit more, it could be a little less, depending on some of these factors.
So the point I guess I'm trying to get at, the sooner that Trident study comes back, you're not going to have a whole lot of data on the third ambulance. That's the point you got to keep out in front of you.
We'll
right?
have our own data. We won't have Trident's interpretation of that data.
Right.
Yeah.
Which would be good to have.
Yes, and also I think, we will have the raw information on how many times did that third ambulance go out, and I think all of us here could probably make an assessment on whether it's worth expending $50,000 this year. We're still coming way under the budget that we had, for ambulance services, even expending that 50.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. See 2 hands up.
Yes.
Start
Bob
with.
Lozer was first.
What was the first one?
Bob Lozer?
Yep. Bob?
Hello.
Hello.
Robert Ozer. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, I'm from Brattleboro, District 3. So a couple of questions, I guess. The 90-day free period is in the contract, which is in the backup material. It's very clear about that. The $50,000 cost, if after the 90 days you decide that it would make sense to have the third ambulance, is in the memoranda, but not in the contract. Does that mean that $50,000 is not written in stone, so to speak, and you may have to go back to the negotiating table to go figure out whether that's really $50,000 or a different figure?
I think it's a good question. First, would it be to, so Bob, not Ozer, Bob Fisher, town attorney, drafted the contract with Golden Cross, and the price, after the 90 days wasn't incorporated in. Was there a particular reason for that?
I can't say that there was a particular reason for it. This was, we have a partner in Golden Cross, and we've had lengthy and regular and ongoing, and we'll continue to have ongoing communications with them. They've made an offer to the town. We documented that offer in this particular contract amendment, and the question was asked if we wanted to maintain this level of service annually. That would cost the town $50,000. We've got that written down. I think it would be very unexpected to walk that back at this point. But,
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Sure. I'm thinking.
1 second, Bob, we just have more members want to speak to it.
Sure.
The amendment here is adding a third ambulance and one 24-hour AEMT for the first 90 days of the contract at no additional charge. That's the amendment, right? And so if we do end up approving that amendment and then into that 90-day period decide that we want to keep the third ambulance and some different level of staffing, then there would be a further amendment to the contract, I would assume.
We would modify the contract again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We got too many people talking at once. Sorry.
I think Bob has
You
one
didn't
question.
say that. So I guess the point is, I agree with Daniel, is that, okay, we're going to get the first 90 days free, and if we find that we want to keep this, wouldn't you be coming back and saying, okay, having a contract that says we're going to have a pro rata contract that you're going to pay by the month. And as Patrick said, anytime that we want to back out of that, we can just terminate. I believe those were your words, Patrick. That anytime that we wanted to terminate from the $50,000, we would be able to do that. So you're actually on a monthly stipend basis based upon what I've heard so far. But I agree with Daniel, is that the first 90 days is free. There's nothing in this contract that talks about dinero. And so then if you say, I think we want to keep this, you already have the framework for the contract, then you come back here and you say, we're going to do this, and it will have the stipulation that if we want to back out of the contract, then we can do that at any time, at no cost to the town to pay the whole $50,000.
I'm not quite sure.
Let's have Bob Fisher think about it.
If I may.
Yeah.
The amendment before the board this evening is limited to a free of charge additional ambulance and the AEMT going from 12 hours to 24. Conversations between town staff and Golden Cross have gone beyond this particular contract to say, well, if we like that and we wanted to keep it full time, well, annually that would cost the town another $50,000. Very good. That's not incorporated into this amendment, and that would need to be incorporated into a future amendment to the contract if that's something the board finds useful.
Okay. Yeah, and I think the only thing I would say is, and Golden Cross has been acting in good faith this entire time. So the fact that they've represented to us in email correspondence, in correspondence with our town attorney, and in correspondence with the Brattleboro Fire Department, that this additional service would be $50,000. I think we can trust that that would be the fee that it would be associated with if we were needed to amend the contract to incorporate it after the 90 days. So, board members, anyone else want to speak to that?
Well, just that it could be more or less usage and fees based upon what we want, because we're going to be hearing from Triton and we're going to be seeing its usefulness, and we're going to make those determinations after 90 days.
Okay. Any board member or individual from the public? Did Bob have
all of his questions? I feel like Bob had more questions.
Okay, I'll put him next.
Yeah.
Hello again.
Hello.
Bob Ozer. Yeah, I guess my question about that will be something that will come out of what the statistics are, whether you're going to use the third ambulance 3 times a week, whether it's going to be, or used every day, or you don't know that until it happens. But going into this, I guess the understanding was that you would only need 2 ambulances. So there was some analysis done going in that you wouldn't need 3, but now there's an offer for the 3rd. So it's a little concerning to some folks as to whether the numbers and the amount of resources are justified in some way. Are those numbers, the 75,000, the 50,000, they seem to be a bit off the cuff. You're looking at a 50% increase in ambulances and a 33% increase in staff. So was that all pegged to certain outcomes, or where'd those numbers come from? And I do have some follow-up questions. And that one could be rhetorical. I don't know.
Bob, I'm gonna keep your follow-up questions to maybe one more after this, and then I want to let other members from the public speak. But I'll let the fire department speak to your question now.
So as we began our initial data collection, we had limited numbers, and as we continued to look into what was feasible and what was not feasible, we looked at data, and when overlapping calls occurred, we started to predict trends and different things from what we could interpret from our dispatch reports. So we interpreted that 18% of the time there would be double calls stacked on top of one another. And there would be 2% of the time where a little less than 2% of the time where there would be a triple staff. And it's easy to say that 2% is a number, but we're not talking about 2% as a number. We're talking about 2% as a human life. And so as we gain further and further more information, that's the number's really, really low. But it is a call that we want to make sure we can address.
That's good. There was a media report that Golden Cross in Rockingham had 40 missed calls. Did anyone reach out to Rockingham and talk to the folks there, talk to the town manager there?
I can answer your question, Bob. You're comparing apples to oranges. Golden Cross has 2 ambulances and 4 personnel in the Westminster station. They cover Westminster, Rockingham, Bellows Falls, Saxons River, Athens, Grafton, a couple towns in New Hampshire. And also their transport to Brattleboro Memorial Hospital, Cheshire Medical Center, Springfield Hospital, and Grace Cottage Hospital. So their transport times are very long. So if they have 2 calls at once, they have to rely on mutual aid. And when they do go out on that second call, they start an ambulance from the Claremont office towards the Westminster office. So that's why you're getting that information. Why I'm saying you're comparing apples to oranges is because Brattleboro is totally different. We're going to have 3 ambulances here. We're going to have 2 staff from Golden Cross along with our staff. Our transport times are 15 minutes at the most. So you can't compare the 2. So I want to make people understand and feel at ease that that's why we feel we are significant in what we're doing, and you can't compare the 2. It's not apples to apples.
Do you want to speak to that, Patrick?
I was just going to say something not quite as eloquent as that.
Okay. Bob, all right, I'm going to, unless you have just one more,
Okay.
or
I'll leave it there for now.
okay, thank you very much.
Well, one more maybe. The license that was approved this afternoon, was that contingent upon the 3rd ambulance?
My understanding is no.
Okay.
Kind of short answer. Okay, thank you very much, Bob. So members from the public in the room, if there's anybody, if not, yes. Kate, come on up.
you. Kate O'Connor, Brattleboro. I'll just start with a comment. I'm kind of suspicious that a company would just call up and I'll do something for you for free. So I guess they're super nice, you know. I have, one of the questions was that back in April, it was very clear we didn't need 2 ambulances because there was a vehicle that the fire department could use. So is that going to be like a 4th vehicle? That was in the explanation why it was very emphatic we don't need 2 ambulances because there is a fire department vehicle. So I'm just wanting to know where that all fits in with that. And I noticed, and you can confirm whether I'm right or wrong, that back in April, the number of new calls you folks thought you were going to have to cover was 350, and this latest memo said it's 1,000 new calls. Mm-hmm. So does that factor into why we need a 3rd ambulance?
First off, the fire department has no vehicle that they can transport with, so I'm not sure where that.
I can email it to them.
We have no vehicle to transport with, so we would need 2 ambulances anyway. As far as where did the 350, we went off from the 5,700 calls that Rescue Inc. said they do, and they said 30% of them are in Brattleboro. Well, after the assistant chief and I went through every call through the dispatch center and realized that 44% of the calls the Rescue Inc. does is in Brattleboro. So that's why we increased it to a little over 1,100 more calls. So that's how we came up with that information. That's how we're getting to this situation that we're at now. And I want to make it clear that Golden Cross didn't call up and say, hey, I can give you a 3rd ambulance for free. Lenny Howard, the fire chief, making sure that the public is protected, called Golden Cross and said, if I need a third ambulance, can I get one? And he said, you're more than welcome to a third ambulance. I have a parking lot full of ambulances. If you want me to park a third ambulance in Brattleboro, I'll park a third ambulance in Brattleboro. So that's how we've gotten to where we are today. I want to make sure people in Brattleboro are protected, and that's my job, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to hide nothing, and neither is the select board.
Just, let's see, why don't you come back up to the mic, but, well, Daniel wants to speak to just your...
I actually want to thank the chief for just saying that, because that's the answer that I think the people want to hear, that it's not Golden Cross, you know, Dale and his wife sitting at home watching TV deciding, I'm going to call Brattleboro and say they can have a third ambulance.
Right. Yeah.
I actually really appreciate that answer, because that's the right answer, saying our town is looking out for our citizens, and we've requested a third ambulance. So I really appreciate that answer, and I like it that it happened that way, because it's been presented as Golden Cross, you know, is sitting around and thinking, let's offer them a third ambulance with no rationale for it. And that's basically what the memo said. So thank you, because that's, I don't want to say answers are right or wrong, but to me, that's the right answer. So thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel?
Kate, while you're there, you said that, you know, maybe this was a slightly flippant comment, a business offering something for free. And I just want to kind of remind folks that when Golden Cross are transporting a patient from the scene to the hospital, insurance or some other means of payment will pay what is required to be paid. And so Golden Cross, like all ambulance providers in this country, will get money for the work that they do. And so it's, you know, nice that they are being so helpful and making sure that we have the resources we need to serve the community and keep the folks safe. And it's also worth remembering that, like, when that ambulance is going from the scene to the hospital, that is like, there's an expense there that that ambulance service is getting money for. And so, I don't know, I just feel like that's worth pointing out. And as we move, you know, down the road through the feasibility study, we'll understand better whether Brattleboro will be able to take on that sole responsibility, and then we'll be the people that are receiving the income, right? And it will be a complicated financial picture, and we will need to figure out whether it's the right thing to do for the town, but there's not a whole lot here that's for free. Yes, I do.
Liz?
I would just like the chief to clarify. I know you said that there would only be ambulances transporting people, but there are fire department EMS vehicles that can come to a scene.
Right, we can respond in other apparatus as first response, but we...
If you could just explain that a little bit, because I think that was part of Kate's question.
Okay, in the event that either the 2 ambulances or 3 ambulances are currently transporting to the hospital, we can send our suppression fire apparatus with first responders on it, as we do now, to attend to that patient while we're waiting for one of those 3 ambulances to come to the scene. So I apologize for that.
And we also have another support vehicle that can mitigate paramedics that are needed on scene to other scenes that are not needed. So back and forth, so that those units are available for that as well.
Okay, we've got
Kurt time.
Kurt.
Hey, Kurt Dimes here, Brattleboro.
Welcome back.
Common sense. I'm concerned that we're committing ourselves to something that's going to bite us later. If you recall, in 2012, we approved a bond for renovation of the police and fire buildings, and that turned into a construction project, and then we had to buy extra real estate for storage of vehicles. If we're going to take these, if we're setting ourselves on a course where we're going to need 3 more vehicles, I wonder if the consideration has been made that we might need more real estate to house the new vehicles after the transition period. That could be another, $250,000 like it was last time.
Okay, thank you, Kurt, for the question. There's two elements to it. Chief Howard wants to speak to one of them, and I think I know which one. But I will just say also that you're kind of moving one step ahead because we have this feasibility study that is just on the starting legs here. And so we need to evaluate that before we would make any kind of consideration on vehicles and housing and things like that. But Chief Howard as well.
When the fire station project you were talking about, Kurt, when the committee that was in charge of that and staff didn't just plan for the period that we were in. We looked at from 50 years out to try to plan for future things that could happen at the fire station to allow us to have room to expand into. So right now, I feel that we're in good shape, being able to house the 3 ambulances. So I'm very confident in that.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Kurt. Yep.
Dora Bublis, Brattleboro. A couple of questions. One is, I'm a little confused as to who's staffing the 3rd ambulance. Is that Golden Cross personnel? Is it Brattleboro personnel? Because it's kind of a little fuzzy what's being talked about. I want to go back to the question that Bob asked about reaching out to Rockingham, because I thought the answer was a little flippant. Apples to oranges doesn't tell me that you actually reached out to Rockingham and Bellows Falls to find out exactly what the issue is with, because I've heard that they don't have enough staff, that they're slow to respond, and that I've also heard that it's incomplete response even when they respond. So if any one of you did a little more research in this, I'd appreciate hearing this, and I want to say thank you, Lenny, for clarifying this, because Kate, you all up there made a statement that said, oh, out of the blue, this company said we're going to do this. I understand where that's coming from, because you've got a lot of moving pieces going on here, and you keep finding out that something isn't adequate, and so you're going back and adding more. But that is how you guys made it sound. And so I think from a public perspective, they're like, what? How did that happen? So a little more transparency would be really nice. So the Rockingham question, I'll leave it with those couple of questions right now.
Okay, thank you. Do you guys want to speak to the staffing and to the Rockingham if you want?
So just so you understand how we're going to staff the ambulances at the station. So the first 2 ambulances will have a Golden Cross provider on it, and they'll have a Brattleboro Fire Department provider on it in one vehicle. The second ambulance will be a Brattleboro and a Golden Cross employee. So there's your first 2 ambulances. As Assistant Chief Keir stated a few minutes ago, is we're going to have a chase vehicle as well. In the event that the paramedic goes on a call and it's not a call that a paramedic is needed, then that paramedic can get in that chase vehicle, and the other fire staff can continue on that call to free up the paramedic for another call. If both ambulances are tied up, then the 3rd ambulance right now will be in West Brattleboro. So right now we have 2 people up there. So if a 3rd call comes in, the 2 people that are working up there will take that 3rd ambulance and respond to that call, to cover that call. And then we'll call back in staff, our off-duty staff, to come in and man the station for calls after that. I have not reached out to Rockingham about the what you were referring to. I have talked to Dale about it, and Dale has explained to me the situation as I explained, their long transport times and is why they're tied up and can't cover all the calls. I felt comfortable with his response to me. Makes sense. So that's my answer to your question.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands there. Any other?
This one.
Oh, who is it?
V. Laredo?
Great.
Come on in.
Hello, my name is Michael Leonardo. I'm Brattleboro resident, and I have a question for Chief. It may have been asked before, but I don't recall hearing it in past meetings. Chief, I hear you say a couple of times now that your transport time to Brattleboro, I think you said the max time would be 15 minutes. I'm assuming that would be the furthest out from the center of town or from the center or from the location of the hospital to your furthest residence in Brattleboro.
Correct.
So with that said, if two of the rescues are out on calls and you utilize that third one, I think that's a great idea for that, and I'm really glad that has come to light and that's an option for the residents of Brattleboro. My main question is, what if a patient doesn't want to be transported to Brattleboro? I haven't heard anyone ask about going to another facility, whether it be New Hampshire or Massachusetts. And I'll just give you a little background quickly. I know you guys are pressed for time, but I was in a motorcycle accident in September of last year. And if I had been awake and coherent, I would have chosen to not go to Brattleboro. And so my question to you is, are you going to be providing transport other than Brattleboro?
The answer to that question, Michael, is, and it's a good question, is we would have to check with medical control at the emergency room and explain the situation to them. And we would have to get clearance from them per protocol to take you to another hospital. Now, in the event that you are a trauma patient, and we felt that the best care would be for us to get a life flight in here to airlift you to a trauma center somewhere, that's certainly our call, and we can do that. But in the event that you're not in a situation like that and you just tell us that you want to go to a different facility, we would have to clear that through medical direct control at the emergency room and get their clearance from there to take you to either Cheshire or the hospital that you were speaking about.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, if I'm, just say I fall and break my ankle, and I don't want to go to BMH, you're going to have to call and ask them if it's okay for you to take me somewhere else?
We have to get medical direct. The doctor there has to give us clearance to take you to a different facility. That's correct.
Is that currently how it's done
That
now
is.
with Rescue Inc.?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I was not aware of that. I thought that you would have choice to be transported to a different facility. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just kind of, it's an interesting question, and I appreciate it being raised. And, one thing that Rescue have been doing all along is providing, transport to hospital, but also transfer between facilities. And my understanding of our, situation with this new hybrid model that we're about to establish is that we will not be doing transfers, right?
Right, we won't be doing like inter-facility transfers. Like if we took somebody to the hospital and they needed to go to Dartmouth.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that inter-facility transfer. That'll be Rescue.
Right.
But in the event, what he's talking about is I don't want to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Like Rescue goes to Chesterfield and Hinsdale now, they have patients that want to go to Cheshire, then they can get clearance to go to Cheshire.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that point being raised, and I'd like to learn a little bit more about it.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think we can if there's no further discussion now, I think we can take a motion, and then we can break for our interpreters to give them a break before we move on to the next agenda item. So, board members?
I'll make a motion. When I find it.
Oh, Jess has it?
All right.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to authorize the interim town manager to execute this contract addendum A with Golden Cross Ambulance Service, Inc.
Jess has made a motion to authorize the interim town manager to execute contract addendum A with Golden Cross Ambulance Service, Inc. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That carries 4-0. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And at this point, we'll take a 10-minute break till 8:15, and then we will reconvene. All right, it is 8:15, and we're reconvened at Brattleboro Select Board after a 10-minute break. And board members, we're going to move on to new business agenda item C, the VCDP closeout public hearing for Tri-Park. This was the item that I had mistakenly thought was the next one. We need to, my understanding is we need to open a public hearing for this agenda item. So I would take a motion to do that first. Liz?
I move to convene a public hearing.
Liz has moved to convene a public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes at 4-0. The item is going to be discussed by Patrick?
At least me initially, sure.
Okay.
So this is the closeout public hearing for the Tri-Park planning effort. The Tri-Park planning effort was funded in part by a federal community development block grant. Those dollars are administered within the state of Vermont by the Vermont Community Development Program. And one of the requirements for any CDBG funded project is that there are two different public hearings. One at the onset of the project at the application phase, and the second one at the conclusion of the project to discuss publicly what the outcomes of the project were consist of. So with that, I would ask Sue Fillion and also Dan, I'm gonna need to get his name, Dan Riddle Hoover to come into the meeting and to talk to us a little bit about the project and what was accomplished.
I think it might be the M&S development.
Sue, welcome.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. Yeah, I will start and then I'm gonna pass it over to Dan, who, thank you for being here as well, Dan. As Patrick mentioned, this was a planning grant through the VCDP program. Initially, it was about a, let's see, about a $70,000 project, actually a little bit more. A grant that we were awarded in 2017 for the Tri-Park Master Plan. And you may recall I presented on that portion of it last year, but basically it was a plan to look at the situation with the Tri-Park Cooperative and plan for the relocation of 42 homes that had been identified as being at high risk for flooding. There was a lot of both Tri-Park Cooperative, the town, and several state agencies had worked on an agreement years ago that 42 homes needed to be relocated from these high-risk areas. And so that plan basically was a pretty comprehensive look at the financials of Tri-Park Cooperative, at the capacity of the park, and kind of a feasibility study of areas where they could possibly develop. And the preferred alternative was basically to relocate 34 of the homes within the existing Mountain Home Park. And then there was also discussion of an alternative site, which I'll come back to, that could be developed within the site, within Mountain Home Park. And so, you know, we wrapped that up in 2020. Tri-Park got to work right away by hiring M&S Development and beginning to implement it. And before we had closed out the initial 30,000 VCDP grant, some additional needs were identified in the master plan. And one of those was to look at the wastewater and do some planning around that for Glen Park and for Black Mountain Park. And so that is where Dan and M&S Development come in, we were able to get another $30,000 enhancement grant from VCDP to do this additional planning work. And Dan and his team kind of worked on that on our behalf. So I will turn that over to Dan to talk a little bit about that work.
Yeah, so that's all correct. And I'll give you a little update on where exactly that $30,000 has gone. So reimbursement is sort of the receipt to Tri-Park here. So the original, in total, the grant is worth about $60,000. Tri-Park's match is about 20%, which they've encumbered numerous times over and are now in the process of submitting all of the various written engineering reports and things like that to go with it. But specifically, this most recent enhancement of $30,000 went to study the conditions and do a further assessment of the water and sewer systems at both Glen Park and Black Mountain Parks, two of the three Tri-Park locations within Brattleboro. And as part of that assessment, there was an RFQ process wherein Tri-Park hired Otter Creek Engineering out of Middlebury. Otter Creek then put together a proposal to do that assessment and some preliminary design work. They have now completed that work. They have done some survey work to identify the grade and the slope. They did existing conditions assessments to determine the age and confirm that there is in fact zero remaining lifespan in the infrastructure that's in the ground there now. And they did the preliminary engineering work necessary to arrive at a cost estimate. So there's conceptual design for both parks. They have submitted technical designs that are sufficient for construction bidding and the cost estimate to go with that. Tri-Park and M&S are now using that work to apply for Agency of Natural Resources grants, ARPA funding that's available now, which we're going to be applying for with a July deadline, hoping to have it funded this fall and under construction this spring.
Thanks, Dan. I just, to kind of wrap it up, I just wanted to let you know that the entire kind of planning effort that we've gone through over the last several years has been totals 122,000. 60,000 came from VCDP. 40,000 for the initial master plan was from the town's revolving loan fund. 10,000 was contributed by Vermont Housing and Conservation Board, and 12,000 plus came from Tri-Park Cooperative. It's, that the timing of completing the master plan was really, it just worked really well with the ARPA funding and even the infrastructure funding. And there's been a lot of support from the state itself. You may recall, I think last year at this time, there was some debt forgiveness and loan restructuring for the wastewater project at, was it water or wastewater project at Mountain Home Park. And then this spring, Tri-Park also learned that they were received $1.3 million in congressionally delegated spending that Representative Welch and Senator Sanders had supported. And that is going to go towards actually demolishing the maintenance building and creating possibly around 18 lots for homes to move there. So that maintenance building is on Mountain Home site on their property now. So at some point that project will also be moving forward. So we're really pleased to see that the master plan is being implemented and that there are a lot of funding sources out there to help with the total project. Because just because the way the project lined up, we haven't done a low moderate income study yet, but we do know, this is a community of probably around 1,000 residents. It is affordable housing. And there's about 333 homes in the parks. So it's a substantial and important source of housing in our community.
I would also love to add that Tri-Park has been a tremendous recipient of town support, and I speak on their behalf and I'm sharing this message with you folks that they very much so appreciate that. the seed money that we've received through this planning grant and through support in the master plan has allowed us to be able to have the due diligence required to apply for things like our congressionally directed spending, such as our recent awards with the Flood Resilient Communities Fund and others. And it's materializing in real awards that are going to make a tremendous impact on the speed with which these projects will be able to happen. So the dollars you've put in as a town or supported in applications are coming back multiple times over through what we're able to win with the results of your support. So thank you very much. And I've worked with numerous staff in the town office across several departments, utilities, planning, every top to bottom, and they've all been very helpful and have been instrumental in helping get this done. So thank you.
Great. Thank you both very much for the presentation, and thank you for that. Board members, any questions or comments? Liz, yes.
I just wanted to commend everyone, including Tri-Park, for all of this work. I remember Tropical Storm Irene was the impetus for the need for all this planning work. And Sue and the planning department has done a tremendous job over the years. But also, you know, I understand that Tri-Park is a cooperative, and that is a tremendous benefit to the people themselves for all this self-determination and planning work. And I'll remind, as Sue has, that I believe this Tri-Park is 8% of the Brattleboro population. So it's a significant element in our community. They needed all of this planning work, and it was all orchestrated superbly and made a lot of benefits to the area.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Board members? Yeah. Any members of the public wish to speak?
Ricky Rosati.
Yep, Ricky.
Oh, I should put on my headphones again. Sorry, I forgot to, but.
Yeah, we actually can hear you fine now.
Okay, great. So I'm very ignorant about this project, and so I just have a few questions. Like, are as many houses being built as are being removed?
Yes, the plan is to relocate as many homes as there are developable sites within Mountain Home Park to allow residents who live within the FEMA designated floodplain and floodway to relocate to higher ground and out of that hazard area.
Are they going to be paying the same amount of rent or whatever their housing payments were in the new housing?
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Always great when we can answer questions very effectively. So yeah, I think, is this a motion? No action required. No action required. So I think then we will, thank you again. Yes, thank you again both very much for the presentation. And I think we can just close out the public hearing, so I can take a motion on that.
And thank you for all your hard work as well. I move that we close the public hearing.
Liz has moved that we close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries 4-0. We move on to new business agenda item D, the ordinance amendment, chapter 8, first reading.
First reading, of course.
First reading. Oh, yes, sorry. Pass it over to Patrick.
Thank you. So tonight, the board is asked to conduct a first reading of changes to Brattleboro Code of Ordinance, Chapter 8, Health, Sanitation, Fire Safety Inspections, and Rental Housing. Specifically, Sections 8-55, Penalty and Enforcement, and Section 8-55.1, Schedule of Fines. So the board and the public, I'm sure, will recall that in late 2019, the board adopted Article 4 to Chapter 8, and in so doing established the rental housing inspection program by the Brattleboro Fire Department in Brattleboro. At the time, the language in the ordinance referenced a schedule of fines to be developed. That wasn't developed, and not long after the pandemic hit, and we focused in other areas during the rest of the pandemic. So what is before you this evening is a revised section 8-55B to specifically reference the newly developed health, sanitation, and fire safety schedule of fines in section 855.1. And attached for your consideration is, of course, that schedule of fines. And Chuck Kier from the Brattleboro Fire Department is also here, and he can talk to you a little bit about the program and how it's running. And
Sure, thanks. So the schedule of fines really kind of involves 4 different types of inspections that take place at the Brattleboro Fire Department. The first one being health inspections. We talked about our deputy health officers and how they go out and they handle certain health inspections, whether it's sanitary issues or it's infestation issues. And they uphold the Vermont Rental Housing Code. The second inspection that we perform is what we call a pre-sale inspection. So anytime, a lot of times a bank or a lender will require a building owner before they sell the property to have a pre-sale inspection. That follows the same guidelines as a rental housing inspection, but there's a fee associated with that, and that fee currently is $75, and it doesn't matter the number of units, it's just $75 flat rate. We're actually, one of the things that we're looking to change is change that pre-sale inspection to $125 to represent what is really taking place, and usually that's 3, 4, or 5 units. The third inspection that we do is commercial inspections. Now we have a collaborative relationship with the Vermont Division of Fire Safety, where we go and we work with them for nursing homes, for the construction of schools, for the constructions of large commercial properties, and just larger buildings in town. And where we work together to mitigate the NFPA code and the building codes and all of those things. And the last thing that we deal with is the rental property inspections. That's a program that was started, Chief Howard started that program quite a few years ago. And we really, well, we do a lot of units with that. So when I refer to a unit, just for clear measure, I refer to an apartment. Just because I may say a building has 3 units and I'll refer to it as units. What's important is, so we charge for those, we charge $75 per unit. And as of this year, we've invoiced for fiscal year 2021, 2022, we've invoiced for $31,650. That's 422 units. And we've collected 22,825 units. Some of that deferred collection, that 8,825, is for a couple different reasons. One, some people are a little slow to pay their bill. We're currently working with our new finance director to kind of resolve some of those problems. And some of those is just because a lot of times a rental housing inspection will require more than one inspection. Most actually, greater than 80% require there to be 2 or 3 follow-up inspections for that certificate of habitability to be issued. A real important part with our rental housing inspection program is that we are slightly delayed in the program. If you guys recall, in that ordinance, there's a list of estimated times when we'll be in certain areas. Due to COVID, we got delayed about 1.5 years. We're currently about 1 year behind, so we've made progress into catching up. You guys allowed for a part-time fire inspector, Rick Davis, to come on board, and he's kind of really helped with that process. Currently, for the people that are out there, we're in Zone 3, which essentially means the southern part of the town, so Canal Street south. Those are the areas that we're currently focusing on at this moment. Oftentimes, and the reason we bring this schedule of fines to you is that there's a very convoluted way of getting to enforcement. So the first thing that we do is we always try for voluntary enforcement. And for 99% of our landlords, that is exactly what they do. They want safe buildings, they want their tenants to be safe, and then that's what they want, and that's the good. That 1% really we kind of struggle with. And so the schedule of fines will hopefully allow for an extra step in this process. So currently our enforcement measures is to build a case, which can take 6 months to even a year. You guys will be presented shortly, if I don't have voluntary compliance, with 2 potential health orders that have been building up for about a year. So that takes time, and we're hoping this inspection, the schedule of fees, will shorten that time and have for a greater level of compliance after voluntary compliance isn't really doing it. The inspection of fees, the schedule of fines, so whatever you so call it, this mirrors the Vermont Division of Fire Safety's fines. So this isn't something that we're coming up with. In fact, I guess that's not completely true. Some of the fines that the state of Vermont use cap at $1,000, whereas ours cap at $800, and that's to relate to further in our ordinance where it discusses the max of $800.
Yeah.
And these are really only kind of the big ticket items, the ones that really prevent or are dangerous, immediately dangerous to life and health. The missing smoke detectors, the blocking egresses, the working without a permit. Those are really big issues that we have to deal with, and hopefully will allow for a quicker result.
Great. Thank you so much, AC Cure, for the presentation. Yeah, and I don't know if this actually has been sort of presented to the board since the implementation of the rental inspections, or if it has,
Yep.
we haven't had it come to us in a while. So it's really nice just to hear about it a little bit more. So I appreciate you taking the walk on it. Board members, I've got a question, but do you guys have this?
I just wanted to comment that it provides clarity and transparency to everyone in the town, that now they know what the fees are right up front.
Yeah, I can't speak enough for those folks that are, we have our Inspector Davis and we have some of our other inspectors that are out there. They put a tremendous amount of work into dealing with these and to working with the public, especially on those health complaint issues, those health inspections. Those could be as simple as making a phone call, but they could also be as complicated as making multiple repeated inspections to homes and apartments to both help the landlords and the tenants.
I was a little curious about uncollected fees. So you'd mentioned that there was maybe around about $10,000 worth of uncollected out there. And I don't know, Patrick, if you can answer this, but with our late payments for utilities and taxes, there's interest charged at a certain rate. Is that also the case for this sort of thing? Or would that need an ordinance amendment of its own?
A couple of things. Our office, recently started having, by virtue of looking into this with the fire department, a recognition that we're having a little challenge in terms of collecting our fines and fees. And so we've kind of approached this in a two-prong approach, right? Are there ways in which we could make it more convenient and easier for those fees to be paid, right? So, for example, could an inspector, have one of those little things and swipe a credit card at the time of hey, we're done with the inspection. If you got a card, we can take care of it right now, right? We think one of those things, if we can make it easier, maybe we can make it happen quicker. The second thing is we're working from the finance department to take a look at not just uncollected fees and fines within the fire department, but within other departments, and to have a more organized strategy for, okay, when it doesn't get paid after 30 days, this happens, and when it doesn't get paid after 60 days, this happens. Some of the things, as you point out, are specified already in statute, and so we've got robust authority. For example, you don't pay your taxes, your house can go to tax sale. And so there's a whole process by which we can ensure payment. But there are a lot of other things that the town does that issues fees or fines for. And we really don't have as strong an ability to collect. So we're going to work with the individual departments. We're going to work with the finance department. And we're going to work with town attorney Bob Fisher to sort of unify our approach on those items for which there isn't a certainty that we can collect.
Great.
So make it more convenient and get our process squared away.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I had just one quick question. You use the term voluntary enforcement. Does that mean you go to a landlord and they've got one of these things that isn't in compliance, that they could comply then and they don't get the fee, or the fee happens and it's like more if they haven't?
No, absolutely. We're always going to try for that voluntary compliance, and I refer to voluntary compliance almost as education. A lot of people just don't realize that, oh my gosh, well, I can't store stuff in a hallway. It seems pretty logical to store stuff here, that in the event of a fire that's blocking an egress, that's blocking, or a smoke detector has been removed because, they burn candles or incense, and they're really the importance of fire flow. And so a lot of it's education. And like I said, 99% of people just need a little bit of that follow-up. And that's really for when we say second and third inspection. The NFPA code is very complicated, and it's up into an interpretation at times. So we may explain something to somebody and we go back for that second inspection and they didn't really do it to what we explained, and it takes that second or third time to really make that work.
Yeah. Excellent. Anything else?
Ricky Rosati.
Yep, unless Jess had a...
I do have a question about work orders, work permits, and having fines for that. Are those the permits that folks are required to get through the planning department?
Yes.
And so they also have a fine.
Yep.
For when folks start work before they get a permit. So this is like
Get the-
double. Seriously, don't do anything before you start.
Sounds like you should have a permit.
Sounds like you should have permission
And
to do.
yeah, you should really have a permit. There's a lot of really dangerous things that can take place to a building, from electrical, from plumbing to structural. And just to be clear, we work with planning quite a bit. Brian Bannon is also a deputy town health officer.
Yep.
So when we go and we issue a stop work order, it's usually done with me, the Division of Fire Safety, and planning, all standing there speaking to the landlord, and that is a consolidated effort to handle that problem.
So this just will give you a bigger stick.
It will give us a much healthier stick.
Okay.
Is the Division of Fire and Safety like regional? Like they have a regional rep?
They do.
Is it Windham County or is it district? Is it a district?
They handle kind of geographical areas, so to speak. Our district representative is Patrick Banks, and he's great for us.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, Ricky. Sorry to interrupt that. Just wanted to get Jessica's.
You don't have to be sorry. I was really enjoying the conversation, and I think I am trying to prioritize asking about trying to get more regulation of homeowners and not just the property managers of apartments, because on Canal Street particularly, there and South Main Street, that there are just so many dilapidated buildings that I think that I can smell the mold festering off of downtown. Like they're very rotten buildings, and why don't we condemn them and like tear them down, because they are like they're very disgusting.
Yeah.
So that is a really good question, and it's a complicated answer.
Yeah.
So in Vermont, if it's a privately owned building and you are up on your taxes and you pay your bills, then you can choose to live how you want. We do have some zoning regulations that you guys spoke of. Brian's out there
on a very regular basis, making sure that certain zoning ordinances that we have in town are being complied with. But if it's owner occupied, in Vermont, you can live how you want.
Is there any advocacy for trying to upgrade our zoning ordinances of dilapidated buildings and claim like eminent domain on them? Because I really think that they're a risk to everyone and an environmental hazard too.
It's more of a planning question. I know Brian is out there advocating regularly for the different grants and funding that's available for not only owner occupied, but rental properties as well.
And is there like any consideration when trying to distinguish between people who choose to live a certain way versus like when they may not particularly be choosing, but because of whatever disabilities in different capacities that they have, that they are endangering both themselves and the people around them because of their lack of management of the space?
Yes, there is. So we work a lot with different organizations, whether it be Brattleboro Senior Solutions or different representatives that will advocate for people. Ultimately, if a person is in their right person, place, and mind, then they can advocate for themselves. And we always try to get them help and to help with those situations. If a person chooses not to take it, they don't.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Thank you very much, Ricky. All right, board. Do we have a? Nope.
No action.
No action on that. Oh, just the first reading. So this will, for the public, this will come back to the board in 2 weeks or for our first meeting in July for a second reading for further discussion. Thank you very much. And I guess we'll move on to our final agenda item for the night. New business item E. Thank you, gentlemen.
I have a question about this item.
Yes.
Are we appointing everyone aside from the Arts Committee, Brattleboro Housing?
Oh.
And whoever we choose from DRB?
Just the DRB.
Okay.
So, I am just so grateful that I can explain this process to the few folk who have held on.
Just hold on.
Yeah, it's gotten very chilly in here too. So we had interviews at 5:30 for the 2 3-year term positions on the Developmental Review Board, and there were 4 applicants and 1 withdrew during the interview process. And so we have 3 applicants that we'll be voting on now. The way that the Brattleboro Select Board elects or appoints people to boards when it's contested is we have essentially a nomination process where the board members will nominate any number of the applicants, which can be more than the number of seats that are available. And then we do a round robin vote, and you can vote for as many of those applicants as you wish. I'm explaining this for both the public and my fellow board members because it's always a little complicated. So, and we basically go through the process as many times as it takes until we get a majority vote for 2 applicants and thus filling the 2 positions. And we can, we'll have multiple rounds potentially. So, given that, let's begin the nominations. Do I have any nominations for the 2 3-year terms of the Developmental Review Board? Daniel.
I nominate Tom Mosikowski.
Daniel has nominated Tom Mosikowski. Any other nominations? Liz.
I nominate Michael Averill and Nora Dissinger.
I don't know if you can nominate 2 people at once, but I'm going to allow it because
why the heck not?
We would just probably nominate. Okay, so all 3 of the applicants who interviewed have been nominated. So now let's just go down the list and begin with Michael. Is it Averill?
I thought it was Averill.
Averill? I think it's Averill too. Apologies, Michael, if I'm getting that wrong. Mike, okay, so all those who in favor of appointing Michael Averill to the DRB 3-year term, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. So that'll be 4-0.
In round 1.
In round 1. Yeah, and so for example, if we got 3 all 4 zeros, we would then go through another round. So second, all those in favor of nominating Tom Mosikowski, please raise your hand.
Aye.
That'll be a 1-3. And all those in favor of nominating Nora Dissinger, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. That will be 4-0. I think that we have a definitive nomination of Michael Averill and Nora Dissinger to the 2 3-year terms on the Developmental Review Board. I'd like to thank all of the applicants for applying, and I would like to ask Patrick about if Tom could either apply or be put to the one of the 3-member seats for the alternate position on the DRB.
So I will ask Bob tomorrow when he's doing office hours, whether or not that appointment can just flow from his original application,
Yep.
if he needs to apply again.
Okay.
And I'll get back to Mr. Mozakowski as soon as we can.
Excellent. Okay, I really appreciate that. Yeah, Patrick, yeah.
And I think I now understood the question from just a moment ago before you addressed the DRB. If the board wanted to take action on the uncontested positions, I don't see any reason why that couldn't happen. Do you, Jessica?
No, yeah.
Okay. So, I've sort of circled them. If you wanted to take action on those tonight, because they don't require an interview process, the board could do so.
I think that the only reason we haven't done all of the applicants tonight is simply for the time it would take to do all of the interviews for the contested positions. If we can nominate and put into place all of the members that don't require that tonight, I think that would make the most sense.
Great.
So yes, I think we should do it.
Okay.
So do you want me to read it out, or do you want?
So I just took the liberty of scribbling all over this, and so sort of put a circle around each of the ones that are, sort of uncontested, if you wish to.
Okay, do you want me to do it? I can do it.
Do it.
Okay, so I move to appoint 4 members to the Agricultural Advisory Board. Abraham McClurg, and I apologize to everyone for getting everyone's names wrong. I'm deeply sorry. Ashlyn Bristol, Douglas Cox, and Lucy Billings. 1 member to the Cemetery Committee, Brian Bannon. 1 member to the Conservation Commission, Kevin O'Brien. 3 members to the Energy Committee, Dave Lewis.
What about this one?
I'll get to it then. Dave Lewis, Anthony Duncan, and Django Grace. 1 member to the Design Review Committee, Nora Dissinger. 1 member to the Honor Roll, Sam Haskins. 2 members to the Planning Commission, Daniel Handy and Todd Murchison. 1 member to the Traffic Safety Committee, Arthur Davis. 2 members to the Tree Advisory Committee, Georgia Morgan and Mary Henninger. And 1 member to, actually a point of order, was there did Mr. Gardenstein also apply to be aware of coal? Did I hear that from someone?
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
He did?
Yes.
Is it simply an error that it's just not on this list?
Is it? Yeah.
Or is it not David Levenbach? Is that maybe the error?
Oh, now I'm not sure.
Let's check.
Well, it does say that David Gardenstein applied to numerous things.
It did, and his name did not reappear anywhere, which is what I was
Right.
curious about.
Do you want me to check quickly?
You know you
or do
missed
wanna hold on?
Rec and Parks as well.
Oh, thank you. 1 member to the Recreation and Parks Board, Joy Tourneur.
Very nice. Yeah. Gotta be, isn't it?
And then, you know what? Let's, we'll wait on the weigher. We're going to wait on the weigher of coal, and we'll determine whether there's some error, and we don't want to miss an applicant. And we are going to be considering additional committee appointments next meeting, and so we will tackle that. I just like Patrick to take note so we don't miss it. So that's a very long nomination process. Board members, is there any discussion?
Nope.
So excited about all the names on this list. It's great. There's still open committee positions, though.
There are still open committee positions. My only comment would be thank you all so much for your interest in being a small part of the big municipal government family. And we really appreciate the time that everyone puts into their committee work. it's what makes us able to do all of our jobs. So with that, I will take, I guess, I'm not going to reread it. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the nominations carry 4-0.
I'll reach out to Mr. Gartenstein, double check his.
Thank you. Yes, and we'll and also for Tom with the DRB. I think in that case, I'll take one more motion.
Jess?
You have to do it.
I move to adjourn.
That would be it.
Yeah.
Jess has moved to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all very much. That carries 4-0. Thank you very much, BCTV. Thank you so much to the interpreters. Everyone have a good night.
Good night.